always considered Whiskers to be a rather enigmatic cat. Most days, Whiskers lazed around the house. But Alex started to notice something strange. The cat sat, perched on the windowsill. It didn't move. It watched, eyes wide and alert, fixated on the world outside. Alex's curiosity was instantly triggered. Whiskers' ears twitched the faintest of sounds, its gaze unwavering. It was as though the cat was patiently waiting for something.
Quite the change in behavior, Whiskers.
Unable to resist the intrigue, Alex decided to investigate further. She quietly approached the window and peered outside. There, she spotted the mailman seemed to be under Whiskers' vigilant scrutiny. Whiskers remained steadfast, its eyes locked onto the approaching man. And then, in an electrifying moment, the mail slot in the front door clanged open. With a snarl, Whiskers attacked, its fangs bared and claws unsheathed. As Whiskers sunk its teeth and claws into the man's flesh, tearing the hand and almost severing a finger, it was a bloody horror show, a freak response from the normally placid cat. Alex rushed to the door, calling Whiskers off and apologizing profusely to the startled man as he screamed and called for an ambulance. Alex had owned Whiskers for several years, and their bond was unbreakable. She had discovered Whiskers following her home, an abandoned pet she figured. From that day on, they were inseparable companions. Alex couldn't help but wonder what had triggered this dramatic change in Whiskers. Had it sensed something amiss that she couldn't perceive? Or had it simply decided that it was its duty to protect the home and the person who had rescued it all those years ago? The incident with the man had left Alex feeling uneasy. Despite her attempts to reassure herself that it was just a momentary burst of protective instinct, she couldn't help but be a little wary of her cat. When it was time to feed Whiskers, Alex filled its bowl with its favorite kibble, the familiar sound of the nuggets hitting the ceramic bowl, usually enough to make Whiskers start over with excitement. However, this time was different. As Alex steadily placed the bowl of food down on the floor, Whiskers simply sat there, staring at her with those intense, unblinking eyes. It sent a shiver down her spine and made her feel all the more uncomfortable.
Come on, Whiskers. It's your favorite.
But Whiskers remained still, its gaze fixed on Alex, its silence more unnerving with every passing moment. It was as if it were trying to convey something to her, something beyond the understanding of ordinary communication between a human and a cat. Alex couldn't shake a bad feeling. Had the incident altered their relationship in some fundamental way? She couldn't help but wonder what was held behind those predatory, unyielding eyes, and what was making her beloved pet act in a usual nature. Alex's unease grew as Whiskers slowly approached her. She was on edge, her heart beating faster as the cat stopped and sat right in front of her, locking eyes with her in an almost eerie manner. Before Alex could process the strange situation, Whiskers suddenly pounced onto her lap, catching her off guard. Her initial fright began to give way to relief as she felt the familiar vibrations of its purring. Alex slowly extended her hand toward Whiskers' face. To her delight, Whiskers nuzzled her hand, its purring growing louder. Encouraged by this display of affection, Alex began to scratch behind its ears, a spot she knew it loved. But as she stroked it, Whiskers started to purr even louder. Its body tensed as it dug its claws into Alex's leg. The pain was sharp and immediate, causing her to wince. Confused and a bit shaken, Alex looked at Whiskers, searching for any hint of an explanation. But all she saw was a gaze of indifference that left her with an even worse feeling than before. That night, Alex decided to lock Whiskers out of the bedroom. She couldn't shake off the anxiety that had settled within her. She gently closed the bedroom door, leaving Whiskers on the other side. She hoped that she could regain a sense of safety. As she settled into her bed, she couldn't help but glance toward the closed door, feeling a pang of guilt for excluding Whiskers from their usual nighttime routine. She knew that their bond had shifted, but she remained determined to uncover the mystery behind her cat's sudden changes in behavior. The night was quiet, save for the sound of Whiskers scratching at the bedroom door intermittently. In the dead of night, Alex was abruptly awakened by a peculiar sensation. She felt a weight pressing against her face, a warm and solid presence that made it difficult for her to breathe. She quickly realized that Whiskers had somehow managed to breach the closed bedroom door and was now sitting firmly against her face. Struggling for oxygen and startled beyond belief, Alex acted on instinct. She threw Whiskers away from her, his small form landing with a soft thud on the floor. Her heart raced as she tried to catch her breath, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Sitting a few feet away, his eyes reflecting an eerie glow in the dim light, his demeanor was eerily calm, as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. Torn between fear and confusion, Alex could hardly believe what had just happened. She had locked Whiskers out of the room, and yet somehow found way back in, sitting on her face with an unsettling determination. She locked it in the bathroom and locked herself in her bedroom. As dawn's light began to filter through her bedroom window, Alex decided to check on Whiskers. With cautious steps, she made her way to the bathroom. She found it empty. She searched the rest of the house, calling out for Whiskers, but there was no sign of him. The cat disappeared, even though all the doors to the house had been securely locked. It was as if Whiskers had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a void that was both bewildering and unsettling. behavior had somehow led it to seek solace elsewhere. As the days stretched on, Alex's worry deepened, and her search for Whiskers became increasingly frantic. She scoured every nook, cranny, looking in all of its usual hiding spots and favorite haunts, but there was no sign of it. Alex reached out to friends and neighbor, sharing her concern and asking if anyone had seen Whiskers. She posted flyers around the neighborhood, hoping that someone might have information about his whereabouts. But the responses she received were all the same. No one had seen any trace of the cat. One night, to Alex's surprise, the discovery of an arm of a human baby, severed and matted with blood, scared the shit out of her. Had this been Whiskers? What had driven it to commit such an act of violence? Was this the same cat who had once been her loyal and affectionate companion? Her thoughts were interrupted when she noticed Whiskers nearby, its eyes fixed on her. Its gaze was intensely unnerving. It was as if it wanted her to see what it had done. Alex felt a surge of conflicting emotions. The cat she had raised for many years, the cat she had loved and cared for, had now become a dangerous predator. She couldn't reconcile the image of Whiskers as the friend she had known with the cat that now stood before her. Her gaze locked with Whiskers. Alex watched in amazement as Whiskers, with an unusual air of purpose, its eyes seemed different somehow. It was a behavior she had never seen in the cat before, and it left her feeling terrified. In a hasty rush, Alex retreated to her bedroom. She locked the door and made sure all the windows were securely closed. She needed a safe haven where she could gather her thoughts and protect herself from whatever had taken hold of Whiskers. Alex was jolted awake by a sound that sent fear coursing through her. Her heart raced, and her body felt paralyzed with dread as she lay there, unable to move, her eyes darting around the room. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, a terrifying sight greeted her. Dozens of cats, their eyes reflecting an eerie glow in the darkness, had surrounded her. They appeared to have materialized out of thin air, their forms silent and uncannily still. They stared at her with an unsettling intensity. Alex's mind raced, struggling to make sense of the surreal scene unfolding before her. Cats, their presence in her bedroom was inexplicable. Unable to move or speak, Alex lay there, her fear rendering her immobile. The cats continued to watch her, their collective gaze unbroken, as if they were waiting for something or someone. Alex remained paralyzed with fear, her heart pounding in her chest. She could see a dark shape, what looked like a woman. Unable to move or scream, Alex felt utterly helpless as the figure drew nearer, her features becoming more defined the closer she got. It was as if all the air had been replaced with the stench of death. Then, in a horrifying moment, the woman lunged at Alex. The witch forced her hands into Alex's chest and tore out her was as though the witch had stolen Alex's soul, leaving her an empty vessel. The witch began to undergo a grotesque transformation. Her body twisted and contorted, her features shifting and melding into something otherworldly. The old woman morphed into the form of a cat. The witch, once human, was now replaced by her preferred sleek and sinuous feline form. As the mysterious cats scattered into the shadows, their purpose fulfilled, Whiskers' eyes gleamed with an unnatural